Have you ever thought about the occupational hazards in sewing? I never thought about it because life was peachy and perfect. But lately, years, more than 30, of sitting in front of my little sewing machine and making thousands of things has caught up to me. My name is Katinka. I'm the seamstress at the cottage, and welcome. Today, I'm going to show you a few of the things I've made this week, but I'm also going to chat about the impact of sewing on my physical well-being. And this is a warning for those of you who think you are invincible. I've seen on my stats, there's a few of you that are quite young, under 20 and under 30, and enjoy your body while it lasts. Because as soon as you get over 35, suddenly things go south. So this last week, actually a bit longer, I have been struggling with my back. I have sciatica, and usually stretching and a little bit of a pain relief cycle helps and sorts it out. But this has been relentless. So it started when I was doing the waistcoat for my nephew, and it just went south from there. And now I'm in a place where I'm sitting here on this chair because it's the most comfortable for the way my body feels at the moment, and my legs are up, and I cannot sew. Yesterday I was trying to do a challenge for myself to see how much I can do in a working day. The working day started at 8 and it finished in the afternoon at 5. And I had to take so many breaks that I basically just did a few things. And my capacity, I can literally sew up almost the whole clothing range in a week. So for me to just do a few alterations in a day has been really frustrating. So let's talk about the occupational hazards. The first thing is you are sitting in front of your sewing machine. And I used to sew on a chair that wheels between the two machines, and then I could swing. But then what would happen is I would sit skew, and before I know it, my back and between my shoulder blades would be in such a spasm that I couldn't think. So I learned that I have to take chairs that's stationary. Now, these are my granny's chairs, and they had cushions that were perfect for them, and they were so comfortable. But unfortunately, in the move and with all the chaos of the last 3 years, I've lost the cushions. So I've made new cushions, but they're not the same. They're okay for a while, but after a while, I just cannot sit. So I've been resorting to taking my machines and actually putting it on this table and sewing on this table, which is not bad. Standing and sewing is actually not bad at all. But then your one leg is holding all your weight and the other leg is putting it down on the foot. And sometimes what I do, because I've got a bit of hypermobility, I lock my knees. So if that's your knee, I lock them like that. So they almost push back completely. And then it causes more back pain because I am not engaged with my core. So I have to be really aware of how I sit, how I stand, even when I'm cutting out, and just the whole way of how I use my body. One of the things that I find really work is if I do Pilates, and I have been lazy. So that's on me. So the first point that I want to make is make sure you exercise. I know as crafty girlies, exercise, most of us don't, we like it when we do it, but it's not high on our priority list. So today, I want to challenge you to actually make a point of stretching every day. Now let's look at the second thing of occupational hazards in sewing. I love my overlocker. It is the best thing ever. I've started sewing just on a sewing machine, and later on I got an overlocker and I never looked back. But when you work with fabrics that makes a lot of fluff, you actually need to wear a mask. And so a few years ago, I ended up with bronchitis because I was making toweling things for an order, and I did a lot of them, and that fine dust went into my lungs. That was my wake-up call, because after that, I have learned if I work with velvet, I sit in an open space where there's lots of ventilation. And even now, since I've put the fan in, the ventilation in this room is much better. But the fine dust that's also in fabrics in general will get into everything. And if it can get into everything, think about how it gets into your lungs. And that was something I never thought about. So that's the second one, is be aware of the dust that you create when you're sewing and not to breathe in that dust. Sometimes what I would do is I would actually put a fan on the one side if I work with really fluffy fabrics, and I would put a fan and I would blow it on this machine so it blows away, or I would sit it like behind me and so it can blow on this overlocker and just blow the fluff away. But that also causes circulation, so you also need to be aware of that. So just look at how the circulation in your room is and make sure the fan blow the dust away from you if you do not want to wear a mask. But I've just got to a point where if I know I'm going to work with really fluffy, like fake fur or anything, I put a mask on. Now, the third thing. We have all of these wonderful cutting tools. There's my little wheel, and there are these little cutters, and we have scissors like the one I'm holding actually in my hand, and even your quick unpick. Now, all of these things are wonderful when they are really sharp, because if you sew, you know the frustration when your tools are not sharp. This little thing is beautiful. It works like a charm. But I've actually cut my finger so deep that it took about 6 weeks to heal. I should have gotten stitches, but I was in the middle of a deadline and there was no time to get to the doctor. We was more than 20 kilometers away. This, I've cut the tip of my finger really deep. So I cut it, I was holding the fabric like this, and it went into this finger, through my nail, and this finger was really painful for a really long time as well. Then there's your overlocker. This little blade. I have had times when I would go and push my machine, my fabric through, and my finger was caught in the blade. Your sewing machine, those needles. I've literally also this finger. This poor hand has been in the wars. I literally sewed through my finger like that. The needle went in on the side of my nail, luckily not through the nail, on the side of the nail, and broke. And I had to find pliers to pull it out. So all the sharp little things makes that you cannot drink and sew. So I'm not a big drinker. I love a sip. As I said before, I sip. I taste the things. I don't drink it. But there has been times when friends would come over, and that was before I knew I was actually having allergic reactions to the gin. And we would have gin and tonic sewing parties. And it was a lot of fun. We would laugh ourselves stupid. But it was in those times that I've hurt myself the most. Ironing. Oh my goodness, your iron. Do not iron over your hand. I used to have, when I had lots of orders, I used to have like these stripes from my iron. And it would be in different levels of healing. So your iron, be careful of it. Then the next thing is the chemicals that the fabrics are being treated with. And this is something I have learned because I'm very sensitive to chemicals. But I wouldn't always wash my fabrics because I'm lazy. Like synthetics, it's not going to shrink. But since I, at one stage, got this horrible rash on my arms and even on my face, and I couldn't understand what was causing it. And then it was a big order of dresses that I had to make for some organization, and the fabric was a really synthetic fabric. And I just thought, you know what, it's such a big order and it's literally on rolls. I'm just going to make it and I'll wash it afterwards. And the fabric had a chemical that my skin reacted to. So always wash your fabric. Then there's also the vintage fabrics. Oh, I love a good piece of vintage fabric. A good piece of vintage lace is even better. And then your room is full of fabric. So the first thing is make sure your room does not have excess humidity, because it will cause your fabrics to mold. And you don't see the mold until you take that fabric out. Another thing, sometimes there's like mold spores on the vintage fabrics. So what I do when I get vintage fabrics, I immediately put them in a pillowcase or one of those zip bags, and I put tons of vinegar into my washing machine and soap. And I know they say vinegar don't kill it, but I find that it actually takes a lot of the stuff away. And sometimes I will even put a little bit of, I won't put it together, but bicarb I also find clean the fabric quite well. But just test a little piece and see what will happen, because sometimes vintage fabrics are really fragile and you should actually not make anything out of it because it is going to fall apart. And I've done that before. I had the most beautiful black and glaze, and as I made it for a market, and I had all these beautiful black dresses with puff sleeves, big puff sleeves hanging. And the first person, I think I had 4 of them that I made for that market. The first person who put them on, it actually just fell apart. It literally, you could put your finger through the fabric. And I don't know how I didn't see it beforehand, but I didn't. And I made all these things. And so I had to throw them all away. But I'm off the point now. And lastly, it's the dust. So sometimes your fabrics, like my fabrics, I'm looking at it there, I actually have to wash them all because there were lots of dust in here when I put that fan in. And that dust go and lie, and it can firstly stain your fabrics. And secondly, when you take that fabric out, if you are dust sensitive, it will get to you. So those are just a few of the occupational hazards that I wanted to talk to you about in sewing. And now I'm going to show you the things that I've done this week and talk about some plans. I said I wanted to finish this, and I'm still going to, but I didn't get around to it this week. I was dealing with other things. But what I did do is I made this one smaller. This was a client. She wanted me to put a hem around, which I did. This dress had elastics in the arms, and I hated it, so I gave it darts, and now it's got a beautiful tulip sleeve, which I think is so cool. And I gave it pockets, and I finished the shirt. But there's a video coming out with all of these things, and then I'll put them on and I'll show you. And then, I don't know about you, I think sometimes I'm a bit on the spectrum if I look at how I behave. But when I get something that fits me well and that I love the fabric, I will only wear that. So since I've started traveling, I've had 1 pair of pajamas. And I would wash it and wear it. And then I have a t-shirt that I would sleep in if my pajamas was in the wash. And the pants, I wouldn't wear that much because I don't like sleeping in pants. But the top, I have washed and wear, and it's now at this point. It is literally falling apart. I fixed it a few times already. There you can see. I've just used whatever cotton was on the fabric, on the machine. But it is actually at a point of no return. In the Bible, there's a scripture where it says, do not put a new rag onto an old piece of clothing, and because it's going to tear. And it's so true. If I put a new rag on this, or just a piece of fabric, and I try and save it, it's not going to last. It is literally just going to keep on tearing around the points. So it's time for new pajamas. But I love this fabric. This was fabric that my friend sent me a few years ago, and she found it at Joann's. I actually saw it when I was there, and I just love it. But I don't have enough for a top. So I saw this top has this yoke at the top. And I love that pattern. It's so comfy. And I found that I still have yokes cut out on the fabric. So I've got the front and the back yoke. The fabric is not as washed out as the pants, which is, I find interesting because I didn't wear the pants that much, but I must have worn it sometimes because it is much lighter than the fabric. So what I'm thinking is turning these pants into shorts, because now they're like 3/4. And that will give me this much. And then use that same pattern and make like little shorty pajamas. So I'm going to actually do this in the near future because I do not have any pajamas at the moment. And then I have this t-shirting that I found in a remnant shop. And it was really cheap. I think I've paid like, for the whole piece, I think it was 20 rands. So it was really cheap. But it's just like a piece with lots of pieces on it like that. But I looked at it and there is enough for pajamas. So I'm thinking of making like just a little dress because I love sleeping in pajama dresses, just to above my knee. I don't like the long ones. And make it plain and simple. Not going to give it sleeves. I hate it when it has sleeves. Just cut it out. I do like a little bit of gathers in the front, so I might give it darts or just the elastic. I'll see. I'll play with it. but I have these two, and then I have two sets of pajamas. And I won't wear just one pair and a t-shirt. And yeah, it should make a difference. And maybe I should look at maybe more fabric for pajamas, because I'm realizing that I'm actually in need of good pajamas, because I sometimes have pajama days. I don't know about you, but I have days where I literally cannot stand any clothes on my skin. And you can't walk around naked. That's not a good idea. So I would keep my pajamas on, because it's the lightest and it feels like the least amount of clothing. And I do have some clothes that feels like secret pajamas, and I will wear them as well. But yeah, I think I need more pajamas, and I need to make them so that they look like day-to-day wear. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to... We'll see what happens. Watch this space. So anyway, another thing that needs to happen, which I'm busy with, I am almost done with this skirt. So yesterday when I was doing all these things and struggling with back pain and sciatica, I did start this skirt, but I had to leave for a thing last night, and so I didn't finish it completely. So that's on my to-do list. And then I have a friend whose friend is very good at shopping. She finds all the bargains. So she bought this duvet cover quite a while ago, but she had nobody to make it smaller. So it's like a super king size. So that means it's extra length and it's very wide. And she just wants it a normal queen size. So this week I will go ahead and make this duvet cover smaller. And there should be enough fabric to also make pillowcases. So I'll do that this week. And then I will finish this skirt. And I also want to finish this dress. I know I hear you. I've been saying it for so long. But I'm going to finish it soon. And then this is a skirt, which I love the fabric. I think it's so beautiful. And I want to turn it into a Be Mine balloon sleeve top like this one. And then this was a skirt which I turned into a top, which came to my knees. But I don't grab it anymore. I think it's because fashion changed. It was all the layers and the floaty things in the 2007s until about 2015, and I am not gravitating to that anymore. When I met menopause, my thermostat changed, and also when part of my thyroid was removed. So I really get really hot some days. I don't get hot flashes. It's just I'm literally running hot. I find that I don't want so much clothes on me anymore. Like I used to layer and love all the flowy stuff and all the lace and all the stuff. And now I can't be bothered. I get so irritated with everything that I just take half the clothes off and just walk in the basics. So I am going to change it into a little peasant top. So there is enough fabric to use the top part as the sleeves, and because I also find my arms aren't that nice anymore, and I am exercising a little bit, but not enough to make them nice, and I don't want to worry about my arms. So I walk around like this and don't mind, but some days I am a bit conscious of it, and then I want some sleeves to cover it. So I'm going to do that soon. My question today is, have you ever injured yourself in your sewing room? I would really like to hear about all the things that you've come across, because maybe something happened to you that I haven't thought about or that didn't happen to me. And then if we put it in the comments, then we all can learn from each other. So I would really appreciate it if you leave a comment about the things that went wrong in your sewing room where you injured yourself. Oh, I forgot. Coffee. I really think I had some bad virus, because my taste buds are still not completely right. But I used to drink coffee while I'm sewing, and I love it. And the one time I put the cup down and I was on the overlocker, and the table do move even though it's really sturdy, and that cup fell over and it burned my leg. I had a blister on this leg like that from the coffee. So yeah, also another way of getting injured in your sewing room. So I would really like to hear the things that you have experienced in your sewing room, and things that we need to be careful of in our sewing rooms, because it sounds to me there's a lot of health hazards in here, which as I'm mentioning them, I'm actually getting quite scared of the space. As always, it is so nice spending time with you. I love visiting with you on a Friday and to see all your comments and to just chat. And I'm going to leave you today with 2 thoughts of wisdom. The first one, your pins are your friends. Use them. The second one, wear a mask if you work with fluffy fabrics. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Goodbye.